Greetings, this video is from the Timeshare Traveler. Here I am, it's April 5th, in the middle of the lockdown. I live in Arizona, we're locked down for the coronavirus. So I've been thinking about what's the impact in timeshares because of the coronavirus. Obviously in the short term, they're shut down. In fact, I have had all my travel I've pushed off until at least June. So it's certainly had a big impact on me. I had to move a trip that was going to Hawaii in May. I moved that out to the end of September, early October. So it's certainly having a big impact on me. Um, and I expect it will continue, and we don't know exactly when we'll come out of this, but we will come out of it at some point. WorldMark has no openings for the month of April, so the earliest they'll be is May, and other timeshares that I have ownership in, nothing is happening with them, or it's very limited during this month. So again, will be shocking to see. So this video, you can make fun of it, but I thought I have no time. I have plenty of time now that I'm here in lockdown. Why not share with people my opinions of how this is going to evolve? I'm old enough with my gray hair to have witnessed both the 1960s, what are we going to do with the Russian missile crisis, and what happens if there's a nuclear war. I've lived through 9/11, and the world changed each time that happened. So I'm going to try to project what's going to happen. The purpose of this video is just to look out into the future and give you my perspective on what might happen. Kind of curious to be able to look back on this in a few years to see whether I was accurate. I'm either insane or a very brilliant sage of advice. So we'll know in a couple of years. But anyway, I remember back in the 1960s when we would practice as a school child. We would practice. First, they put our head on the desk. I'm not exactly sure what value that was because if the bomb went off, having your head on the desk just meant that you'd die with your head on your desk. But eventually we started going down into, whenever we had a drill, we would go down into the basement of the school, and there were canned goods there. And in fact, a lot of my parents had a giant tub of food, so if something were to happen, we had supplies set aside. So that's how we handled the nuclear arms race, and that was pretty much across the world, and I suspect there other countries were similar. If you look at 9/11, when it first happened, it's very similar. All traffic stopped, wasn't a lot of flying. When you did get on a plane, you're like, okay, you're looking around, is there somebody on this plane? Is this plane going to be hijacked? So we had a lot of the same fears that I certainly feel right now with the coronavirus. I'm locked in my home, and apparently I have so much time being locked in my home, I have time to make a video like this. So that's a joke, I hope. I hope you take it that way. But anyway, so 9/11, eventually we started traveling, but we were nervous, and there was a government response. So we ended up with a lot of security and a lot more things, and there was a whole lot of processes in place. And today's airline travel feels is safe. Well, not today because of the coronavirus, but up until the coronavirus, traveling felt as safe as it had, maybe a little less convenient than going right up to the gate without having to stop. But we eventually got to the point, both from a nuclear testing, we were able to go down into the basement of our schools, and now we're able to fly safely with knowing that there was proper security. In this section, I want to talk about, so what has changed, now that we're in this lockdown? What's really fundamentally different? And well, first of all, every week now I have a video conference with my kids. I almost see them more now than when I'm in lockdown. I live in Arizona. My kids live in California, so only when I would drive there would be more or less would I see them, and we've infrequently called. But with the lockdown that's going on right now, everybody's at home. So I've been able to get a video conference with all of my kids on the call, and we have a great chat. We've had it now. This is the third week in a row, and it's an hour and a half, and in many ways I feel closer to my kids now in the middle of this crisis than I do normally when we're running around in our lives. And my job is pretty much available wherever the internet is, so the whole world, a lot of people now are working remote, and they're finding that, hey, we can get work done just as easily by working remote. So what does that mean? Does that mean that we won't be need to live in large cities? We can pick and choose where we want to live. If we want to live on the beach, if we have a good internet connection, we can go to work, if that means virtually work from home. and we can have a wonderful, life living on the coast, isolated from a lot of people, but not isolated from work, and have the same job as if we were living in a large metropolitan without the traffic, without the commute hassles. So it's possible that out of this, a whole new way of working will evolve. And what's the impact on society? How will that change? Of course, I obviously said we can all work from a remote beach, but I guess those would be crowded then too. Anyway, those are my thoughts. In this segment, I'll make my most wildest prediction. And again, it's kind of interesting. How will we see safety? I mean, if you think back to the crisis around the nuclear arms race, it was really about, well, okay, if a bomb dropped, I go to the basement. And do I have food set up in cans and so forth? How am I going to be safe? That ultimately was what people felt like they could go on living their life, because if something were to happen, they had something they could do in order to be safe. The same thing was true with 9/11. Once we knew that security was good enough, and we're continuing to improve it, there's the secure IDs that are coming out. We again beginning to feel more and more secure. And again, airline travel took a big hit right after 9/11, but now we are traveling more and more as a result. And in fact, because we're traveling so much more, the coronavirus was able to take advantage of our global nature and the way we travel all over the world. So it's really a worldwide impact. So what's the idea of safety in a world where we have potential viruses? Well, I don't know, but my guesses are that we'll have businesses will have testing kits. They now have a test that's available that gives results in 15 minutes. So maybe we'll have the equivalent of a test kit at every corporation, or multiple test kits, so that everybody can be tested almost immediately, because there are now tests out there that use existing machines, and they just have the reagents or whatever materials they need in order to work with the coronavirus. Or even on a personal level, we can take our insulin, we can check our sugar levels, we can check our cholesterol levels. Will there be a home-based unit where that there'll be quick ways that things can be done to go buy the kit for the new virus that's spreading, and while we're waiting for the vaccine to happen? And will we speed up vaccines in order? The 18 months is not acceptable. So will we be down to where it's 3 months? We have protocols where we can speed things through. So it's hard to say how this will evolve, but my thinking is we will have a response, and it'll be better than the response we have right now, which is everybody locked down. So anyway, this is the end of my little opinion piece. And again, I don't know if it helps, but it's kind of my view, and we'll find out in a year where there was a crazy lunatic or amazingly accurate or somewhere in between. That's the beauty of life. It only discovered as it unfolds. Be safe, everyone, and hope to see you on the road. So in summary, I believe that with everybody having worked from home, people will want to work remote. And so that'll open up opportunities for more people to actually travel. And with the sense that we have a way to handle a pandemic a little better than we did this time, or a lot better, I think people will actually feel safer. Now, I'm not saying it's going to happen immediately. I have no timeline. But it's kind of my belief, and I'm a bit of an optimist, that we'll bounce back and we'll be stronger, because we'll learn from this as we have learned from past experiences that are similar to this. Again, I'm optimistic, but love to hear your thoughts. We'll find out in a year or so whether I was crazy or such a wise sage of the future.